a cool weather specialist that matures fast, is space efficient, and is relatively easy to grow.
Provided it gets the right start at the right time. Of course, we're talking about lettuce. This is one that's much better grown at home than it is bought at the store. Trust me, lettuce is one crop that is truly worth it to grow.
Lettuce comes in 4 distinct types, but all are pretty much grown the same way. Spacing and the time to harvest can vary slightly, but mostly with these guys, it's just personal preference.
I'm a romaine guy myself, but all lettuce rocks, and we'll cover all the types here today. There's 5 things that we need to consider when planting lettuce, so let's get our hands dirty and get started.
Although easily cultivated from seed, lettuce is truly best grown from pre-started plugs and seedlings.
I know people direct seed lettuce all the time and have been quite successful with it, myself included. However, it's not my first choice, and there's more than a couple things that make it tricky.
Lettuce seeds are absolutely tiny. Not really a big deal, and they readily germinate. The issue is, lettuce is surface sown. It needs light to properly sprout, and it doesn't send out much in the way of roots right away.
Sown in this manner, and one sunny hot day can ruin an entire crop, an entire planting. It just makes sense to grow these guys from pre-started seedlings and plugs.
This is not to say that you can't make your own, because you should. It's just that the lettuce seeds will be germinated and grown in controlled conditions, guaranteeing your success with it later on. And although it's fine to mass seed in a bed or a large array of plants, lettuce is best grown singly as a large solitary crop with distinct spacing.
We'll get into that spacing in a bit, but first, let's talk about the timing of our planting. In most climates, lettuce can be grown several times a year, and in some areas, it can actually be planted year round. Versatile, yes, but there are some limitations.
Lettuce grows best in what's known as the fringe seasons. That is, spring and fall, when the weather is not too hot, nor is it too cold.
It goes without saying that this is the type of day we want to be planting our lettuce on. Overcast or even rainy days are perfect for getting your lettuce into the ground.
There's no question that lettuce loves the sun, it just doesn't love it during this transition.
This is the bed of choice to grow the majority of my lettuce this year. Let's go ahead and clear it off and prep it so that it's ready for the planting. And while we do, let's talk about the best locations to grow lettuce for the best results.
Lettuce is definitely considered a full sun crop, but with some limitations. Hot or extended summers may require some shade, or unfortunately, avoid it altogether. In that case, we can plant in the spring, harvest it all up, and then save our next planting for fall. 5 to 6 hours of direct sunlight is best, but only if those temperatures can be kept in check. It likes its soil loose and rich and to retain moisture, but also to drain freely. Although lettuce is a lush, soft crop, it never wants to be standing in water.
With the bed all cleared, we could go ahead and plant our lettuce no problem. But I do like to take a state of the soil first whenever I'm turning an area over to a new crop.
It all looks good, still full of organics and not crusted over and lifeless. Credit to keeping the top layer covered all winter, no doubt. Now, the soil has shrunk a bit, yes, but that was to be expected. This was a brand new bed last year, and it was filled with piles of wood, yard scraps, and then a thin layer of soil on top. I knew it would shrink and sink, and shrink and sink it did.
So I'm going to add in a little bit more soil to the top here, which will make the lettuce planting even easier. A mix of my own compost, coconut fiber, and a little bit of store-bought topsoil. Basically, a homemade potting mix. Inexpensive, but very effective.
Lettuce really likes the soil to be loose and rich and free of any debris like stones or sticks. Most of the time, I treat my raised beds like just one giant pot or container, but filling these guys up with pure potting soil, that would be expensive. Even for the amount of lettuce that we're going to produce, that's not a cost that I'm willing to pay. Still, bulking up the top layer using this inexpensive mix is really going to help, and I have no doubt that the harvests are going to be legendary. Using a high quality type potting mix is a great way to keep the continuity with what your seedlings are already growing in and thriving with. The perfect gradual entry.
All right, the bed is all prepped and we can finally go ahead and start planting. However, the sun has come back out and it's smoking hot. Even though we're mostly in the shade, you never want to take a chance with a crop like lettuce. So I'm going to go ahead and soak the soil first, then we can start planting.
Pre-soaking the soil before planting a new crop is never a bad idea. Just like with using that high-quality potting mix, creating an environment for the plants to feel comfy right away is a huge key to how successful they'll be. But on a hot day like today with a crop like lettuce, this isn't just a nicety, it's a necessity. Ideally, we'd wait for a cooler day to plant, but sometimes that's not always possible.
Okay, a minor detour, but we're finally ready to plant. Better safe than sorry with lettuce. Fortunately for this next part, the actual planting of lettuce is super easy because with pre-started seedlings and plugs, you just plant to the existing depth. It doesn't get any simpler.
For planting, it's easiest to make our holes first, and with that pre-moistened soil, this task is a cinch. Make the hole a little bit wider than the plug itself, but keep the depth the same as the distance from the bottom of the plug to where that root collar starts. This way, we can plant these guys as deep as they've always been growing.
Okay, now that we're planting, we need to think about spacing as well. Unless you're growing your lettuce for baby or microgreens, lettuce needs more space than you think.
Even upright varieties like this romaine here should have at least 10 inches, if not up to a foot apart. On the other end of the spectrum, iceberg varieties will require even more, upwards of 16 to 18 inches between each plant. Leaf and buttercrunch are somewhere in between. Commercially, the rows are spaced 2 to 3 feet apart, but in a bed like this, I'm just going to stagger my plants and make sure they're about a foot from each other. I don't need space to walk or room for machinery, so I'm going to jam in as many of these guys as I can. One other quick note though, lettuce is often overseeded, and there'll be more than one plant per plug. It's important that we separate them, as this is a plant that needs its space. Usually, because of the mix they're grown in and the way that lettuce root systems grow, they're super easy to pull apart.
Okay, we're all planted up and it looks good. It's nice and uniform, and it would be easy to walk away thinking that we're all done. But hold on, not so fast. We've got to mulch and water first. I know I say this for all new plantings, but for a crop like lettuce, this one is a must.
Lettuce is comprised of just giant transpiring leaves that are full of water. We just planted them, likely disturbed their root systems, and left them to the elements. This is one hardy, maintenance-free crop, but not right away. Mulching will help the soil to lock in that moisture, as well as to mitigate evaporation, transpiration, and those temperature extremes. Once we've got the entire topsoil covered with our mulch of choice, we then need to water. We really want to set up this lettuce for success. The mulch-water combination is one step that we never want to skip with a new planting, but especially with lettuce. On a hot day like today, it's a no-brainer. But even on cooler ones, don't skip this step. It's easy to do, but it's important that we do it.
As you can see, with pre-started seedlings, as long as you follow a few simple rules, planting lettuce is a snap. There's no major hurdles to overcome, and the hardest part is going to be choosing which variety to grow. Still, that was a lot of information all at once. Let's go ahead and recap the main points so that they all stick.
A salad green with no equal, lettuce is one of those crops that's just more than worth it to grow at home. As a leaf-only harvest that likes it mild, getting the right start is the key to being successful with all the lettuce varieties. Lettuce is definitely one of those crops where it's not only cost-effective to grow, but it's also just all around better fresh from the garden.
Hopefully, the 5 tips that we covered here today lead you to your best lettuce year yet. As always, guys, happy growing, and I'll see you in the next one.
Thanks so much for stopping by and doing some gardening with me. Now more than ever, there's a huge benefit to growing our own food at home. Please consider subscribing and checking out this playlist here. Also, sign up for my free courses using the link on the screen as we dive even deeper into the world of backyard vegetable gardening.